Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. For this week's tutorial we are going to be making this giant cupcake with coloured white chocolate base. I have not used candy melts. I prefer to use white chocolate because I think they actually taste nicer, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to colour the chocolate any colour that you want. Everything you need to know in a simple step-by-step format. Let's make a start. I start by greasing the base of my Giant Silicone cupcake mould with some butter. It is much easier to use a silicone mould as the baking time for the base and the top are completely different. Now sprinkle this with some flour as this will help prevent your cake from sticking. Add your cake batter and bake for 45 to 50 minutes at 180 degrees centigrade. Whilst that is in the oven baking, you now want to prepare your other cake. So again, start by greasing the top half of the cupcake mould with some butter. Again, coat this with some flour as this will help prevent the cake from sticking. Add your cake batter, and this one wants to be baked at 180 degrees centigrade again, but for about 30 minutes. So make sure this goes in the oven separately. When the base has cooled, trim off the slight dome whilst it's still in the silicone mould. Repeat this process with the top half of the cupcake, again whilst still in the mould. If this has been greased correctly, your cake will not stick. Just carefully pull down the sides of each mould and release each of the cakes. Starting with the top half of the cupcake, crumb coat this with either buttercream or ganache. This will just give the fondant something to stick to. To pick up on those grooves on the top of the cupcake, we're going to have to add some fondant underneath. So start by rolling out lots of sausage shapes. They don't have to be too long, just try to keep them all even. So this is how we make it stand out more. So as you can see, I've already added one of the sausage shapes. Add them to the grooves that already exist from the mould. The thing is, the grooves aren't that very deep, so once you've crumb coated it and then covered it with fondant, if you weren't doing this as well, it wouldn't pick up on those grooves quite as much. So follow the grooves, keep on rolling out lots of sausage shapes and just place them directly on top of the cake. Now the cake is covered, simply cover this with some fondant. Use your fingers to pick up on all of that detail and all of those grooves from the sausage shapes that we have just added underneath. Take your time doing this, you really want it to stand out. All you need to do then is cut off any excess. You can smooth it out even more if you have any flexible smoothers. And then I place this in the fridge. It is not going to hurt your cake being in a fridge. All it's going to do is allow the buttercream to set. The fondant will go hard whilst it is in the fridge. Yes, it will sweat as it is reaching room temperature, but I'm going to physically be able to pick this up and then place it on my cupcake base without causing any damage if this cake is cold. So I highly advise that you place this in the fridge. Your cake will not go dry because the fondant is protecting the cake from the air. Okay, so whilst that's in the fridge, we're going to colour our chocolate. Here I'm using Colour Mill Hot Pink. Simply add this to 500 grams of melted white chocolate. You can use any colour that you want, but Colour Mill is one of the best for colouring chocolates. You need an oil-based food colour. If you use a water-based, it's just going to totally mess up your chocolate. Water and chocolate do not mix. This is fantastic. Even if you're not making many cakes with chocolate or coloured chocolate, it can still be used in sugar paste, buttercream, royal icing, you name it. So it's a very versatile food colouring that does everything. You can get it in so many different colours. So if you don't want pink, if you want blue, purple, green, yellow, you can make your chocolate any colour that you want. Add a small amount at a time because it's a very beautiful, strong, vibrant colour. And you'll find that the colour gets stronger as the chocolate is actually setting as well. Simply add this and then we'll get on to the next part where I show you how to create that chocolate base and add the cake to the centre. So just pour this directly into a clean mould. So this is the one that I've originally used to bake in, and then I've washed it and made sure it's been dried thoroughly first. You then want to make sure all of the sides are coated evenly. So for this, I just tip it onto its side and make sure none of the chocolate comes out, and then I keep on moving it around until the chocolate slowly starts to set. When this starts to happen, you'll find it more difficult to actually move the chocolate around, and that's when it's time to add this to the fridge and just leave it to set completely. Whilst our chocolate is in the fridge, I take the base of the cupcake and trim off the sides. This will allow the cupcake to fit directly into the chocolate, but it also gets rid of any crusted cake. I take a little bit just off the bottom and finally cut this in half as I'm wanting to add a filling. If you don't want a filling, there's no need to cut it in half. Now before we add the cake, we need to make sure this chocolate comes away from the mould with ease. So start by taking your chocolate base out of the mould. Look at how beautiful that looks. And then you want to actually put this back into the mould. This is just to prevent any buttercream from ending up on the outside of your chocolate and damaging it by accident. I then apply buttercream to the inside of the chocolate mould and also the base. Remember, you can use ganache. I then take my first layer of cake and place this in the base. Add a layer of buttercream on top of that. Remember, you can use any filling of your choice. You could even use jam if you wanted to have jam in there. The chocolate will hold it all in. And I finally add my last layer of cake. You then want to place this back into the fridge just to allow all of that buttercream to go lovely and hard. Okay, so when everything is set, remember this is to prevent damage to the cake. Remove this from the mould and place it on a decorated cake drum. Again, this has come straight out of the fridge to prevent damage. You simply want to apply the top layer. The fondant will be lovely and hard right now. It will go soft again because you've taken it out of the fridge, but it allows you to handle it without damage. I then roll out very small pieces of different coloured fondants, and I use this for the sprinkles and simply apply with some edible glue. Add as many different colours as you want and then simply roll a ball of red for the cherry and place this directly on top. And finally, for the little polka dot effect, I simply cut out small circles and stick these directly onto the chocolate. And there you have it. Simple, effective, fun, and extremely tasty. Happy baking, guys, and I will be back soon with more new, completely free content.